when you're in investment banking and obviously at the global firm where I was, very early on you have the benefit of advising boards, chairmen, and C-suite management that obviously could take decades to build up to if you start your career in a standard track, right? So that already allowed me, again, through the benefit of my team and my MDs and the deals we were working on, to really understand the pressure points, the opportunities, the business cycles, and how value is truly created across stakeholders, right? That is something I think is woefully missing in Pakistan. Again, our corporate culture is not that strong, institutions, education, all of that needs a massive step up, right? And that's not to say nothing is happening, a lot is, but there's a lot more to be done. Fast forward to Pakistan, obviously the learnings of a fairly non-digital world, inefficient, opaque, sort of, lack of transparency is a major shock factor that somebody needs to adjust to. You add to that a layer of, lack of enforcement around the law and order, whether it's contracts, and even if you focus on the commercial side of things, there's very little faith in the system, I would say, which I think is the biggest challenge that people take for granted when you're living abroad, because they've actually solved for the basic infrastructure. And I see that, as a very candid example of shops that used to open up in any street in London, 6 months down, they would close out. And I constantly try to, compare that and draw parallels with that to a small or medium enterprise in Pakistan where somebody has a bright idea. You don't have the luxury of just, coming up with an idea, opening up your windows and serving your customers. Over here, you have to solve for the bijli, you have to solve for water, you have to solve for labor, you have to, comply with the minimum wage. And those are just not, the problem set that anybody else is dealing with abroad. I think those things are fundamental to any scalable progress. Technology is a huge equalizer, obviously allows us to leapfrog bank accounts, various regulations can be complied to, greater transparency can be created without hiring, the same amount of people. So it's about how we use this tool that is sort of in our grasp. And another thing that I always draw parallels to, when I look at the mindset that I had doing my undergrad, and looking at some of the engineering mindset that we also employ, the biggest difference we need to really, really absorb is around the fact that we need to become tool builders and not tool users. A friend of mine pointed this out very early on, and from that day on, I was always fixated around building something, because users are plenty, right? And as a nation, again, it's fairly unfortunate that we are an import-led economy and we're effectively using what somebody else develops. There's very little true innovation. And I think unless we sort of tip over that point, we will be left behind. That's not to say, that is not a looming threat. And, those are some of the real shock factors that people need to be prepared for. But again, I'll come back to the opportunity. It's for us to take control as Pakistanis. Nobody else will do it for us. Again, we should be very clear on that as well. So it's how much we put in, right? And that will drive, and how much quality we put in, that will drive the output that the country needs.